Hello, it's Kyle here, and welcome to episode 10 of Mr Marvel and Friends. And today I have my mate Ben returning. How you doing, Ben?
All good. Thanks again for having me here.
It's good to have you here, mate. You been doing all right then?
Yeah, all good. Cracking on with everything now that life's returned back to some normality. So keeping myself busy.
Cool. So, what games you been playing recently? Just quickly.
I started playing a bit of online stuff recently. I've gotten into a bit of Battlefront once again, a bit of Star Wars Battlefront, and a little bit of game called Dead by Daylight. I've not really played that much, but been playing that one a little bit. That's an online game, survival one. That's pretty cool. But to be honest, with the way things have been with work, I haven't actually been able to settle into a proper good game in a little while. But I know we're going to be talking about one of my favourites today.
Yeah, we certainly are. Yeah, I've the only game I've played recently is Football Manager, bit of footy manager. I just downloaded it on the Switch, and you can just go game by game really quickly. Just a bit of fun in it. Thanks.
Yeah, that's the thing. Where I've found I've been so busy with work and sometimes working quite late, or I know I can't stay up too late because I've got an early start. Just end up playing some quick games. Nothing in terms of a story, just like a quick online game that lasts probably 10 minutes, a couple of rounds of that, and then off to bed.
Exactly. I've been the same recently. If you notice, I've got a bit of a lisp. I've got to wear my retainers at the minute to my audience watching, but it shouldn't put you off too much, I hope. But yeah, there's always something. The last two episodes, my bloody glasses kept steaming up. They seem fine at the minute, but now I've got these things in. But hey, let's get into the topic. Anyway, so this is going to be a bit of a recap of both Red Dead Redemption games. I know there was that Red Dead Revolver, but we're not really counting that. And Ben is a massive fan of these games, so I thought, why not? So let's get into it. The first Red Dead. We'll go for the first Red Dead first. I know that happens after Red Dead 2, but it makes sense because it came out first. So, what did you make of it? The first Red Dead with John Marston.
Oh, the first time I played that, I must have been in my late teens, early 20s at the time when that first come out, and a little bit of like a Western fan as such. I had played Red Dead Revolver as well on the original Xbox, and then when I got the 360, I started playing Red Dead Revolver. Well, the funny thing was back then, even back, like I say, even back then, I found it hard at first to get into it. Like the story was a little bit harder to get into at first, and the controllers are very clunky, which I recapped on because after playing Red Dead Redemption 2, I thought, oh, you know what, I really want to get back into the sequel, the prequel, the sequel, and like I started playing it. Obviously, you notice the graphics straight away, like are very old and so on. But I just found it all very awkward. Like, and having the options that you could do in the sequel and not having it in the prequel was really off-putting. But I remember it took me ages to eventually complete one playthrough, and a good story. I enjoyed it, but it was very hit and miss for me at the time. So I found it quite hard to get into. And I just remember one scenario where I was trying to catch a horse. I think it was one of the main missions for the farm. And the controls were so hard to get hold of. I kept failing it. I think it must have taken me about half hour to eventually lasso a horse and then get hold of it.
Yeah, that wound me up, that mission. I didn't play it for months after that, I think.
I just remember thinking back then, if this is what it's going to be like in this game, fuck this.
Yeah, it was just proper awkward, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Trying to do it.
And then I remember when I think I had to do something similar in Red Dead Redemption 2. You had to lasso a horse that had run off from an owner. And I thought, oh, here we go. Done it in one. I was like, oh.
So what were your sort of first impressions of the story, the way John Marston had to sort of hunt down his former gang members?
I found it good. Because obviously you got the whole story that the guy has tried to move on with his life, but his past has obviously caught up with him, and where he's being blackmailed by the US government to doing what they want, hunt down the previous gang members and basically bring them to justice. I found that quite good, and like I say, I did enjoy the story, and I really, really want to try and redo it again in terms of having a playthrough, because it was a while back ago when I first did this. First did Red Dead Redemption 1, but I feel they need to do like a remaster of this game to make the graphics a bit more up to date and to allow you the options of what you could do with Arthur and John Marston in the prequel. But I did enjoy the story of it. I found it really interesting because you also find other other people on the way. And when you go into, I can't remember what part of the map is, but it seems like it's like Mexico or something.
Yeah, yeah.
But you got that old cowboy sort of like training you up a little bit. Things like that. I did find it really good. Bit of a sad ending though.
Yeah, I agree. Like in terms of the bulk of the story, it was quite interesting hunting down former members like Javier and Bill
Yeah,
Williamson.
Javier and
William,
Dutch.
yeah, Bill Williamson, wasn't it?
That's it.
It was the first one at Fort Mercer. Was it Fort Mercer? Yeah, I think it was.
Yes. I
Yeah,
remember that one I remember that one more recently because like I say, I did start playing did start playing Red Dead 1 about a couple of months ago, and I got as far up as encountering Bill at Fort Mercer and him shooting you and almost leaving you for dead, and then being picked up and looked after in camp in that farm.
Bonnie.
Yeah, McCarran.
Yeah, I think
I
so.
think no, I can't remember her name.
Bonnie was her name, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I liked her as a character. She was pretty cool.
Interesting
Oh,
little thing that you found in Red Dead Redemption 2, that there's I think she mentions about her missing like lover, but you find a guy in Red Dead Redemption 2 basically dying on the beach, and he asks Arthur, if you were playing as Arthur at the time, to take a letter to her, and it is all addressed to her saying how sorry he is. I thought that was quite a nice tie-in, because when you unlock the second part of the map as well, you can actually ride up to the farm.
yeah, yeah, yeah. By the way, do you remember her dad, the mustache? He's got like a massive mustache.
Oh, the proper like power mustache.
Well, it's kind of, but it just wraps around his whole head. It seems. Wish I could do that. I can't do anything with mine, but that's another story. But yeah, yeah. On the same, we'll get into Red Dead 2 in a second. But in the first one, there weren't that. Even though I like the story, there weren't that many amazing moments. Even though I liked it whole as a game, like, can you pick out any good moments in the game?
Like I say, it was a long while ago when I first played the first one. I can't really remember lots about it, but like there were some good moments in it, like where you can still travel around and do stuff. But obviously, this was on an older generation console. They probably couldn't offer as much. But there were some good bits in the story. Like I mean, even like the very ending, because at the very ending of Red Dead 1, you get like that little epilogue, if I'm saying it correctly, where you play as Jack, and you find that old marshal, and you get revenge for your dad. So there was like that bit there that kind of left it open for that to become a sequel and stuff like that. And there was some couple of good moments in it, but where I haven't played it in that long and where I can't sort of recall a lot of them, it kind of shows that there wasn't some that really set in my head that made me go, oh, I've got to play this again, or oh, wow, I'm going to remember that. The only thing I can remember clearly was the very ending where you playing as John Marston, the US government's basically gone back on their word and is now burning down your farm and is coming to basically get you. So you send away your wife and Jack to run for it, and you just the ending I thought was very epic because you walk out, you just go dead eye. You can take out about 6 of them because all you got is a 6-shooter. Bang, 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 bang. but then you just get shot basically to bits. I was just like, oh, what an ending.
Yeah, it was brutal and sad,
Yeah,
wasn't it? But it was a good ending. It's like you're quite shocked, but it's memorable, like you say. That's one of the few things you remember
yeah.
from the game. Yeah, yeah. Overall, like it was a really good game for its time. Just not that many good story moments for some reason.
One thing that I kind of regret not doing when it was out at the time was playing the Undead Red Dead Redemption, which was like the little DLC for it, wasn't it? Where you play online as cowboys and you got like all zombies pop up and everything. I never actually done that when that first come out, and I was kind of hoping they'd do something similar for Red Dead Redemption 2, but it's that game come out what 3 years ago, 4 years ago, and still nothing. So it's not looking like they're going to do that anytime soon.
Yeah, very true. So yeah, we'll get on to Red Dead 2 in a sec. What would you give the first game out of 10?
I'd say a solid 7. Like for
7.
its time, it's good. I think it has held up in some regards, but like it never gripped me enough for me to go back to it the first time, and the controls in terms of going back to it to try and play it now, finding the controls very clunky and very off-putting. So if they were to do a remaster of that, that's something I think I would go out and buy and redo.
Fair enough. I'd probably give it an 8. Or if I was going to decimal points, 8.5,
Okay.
if you're going to do that. But yeah, so we go on to Red Dead 2. It was much anticipated, wasn't it? Massive game, massive series, even though there was only really one game before that,
Yeah.
unless you count Red Dead Revolver. But yeah, what was your sort of hopes and expectations for Red Dead 2?
Because when I first bought it, I heard a lot of good things about it, but I never rushed out to buy it at the time because, like, I remembering back to the first one, finding it quite hard to sort of get into. Like, it took me a little while, I think about 3 or 4 attempts, and then I actually sat down and played it all the way through. But that was a long time ago. This one I've got, and I thought, let's give it a crack. Let's give it a crack. I've heard some good things. I think we've spoken about it briefly at the gym a couple
Yeah.
of times. And as soon as it started up, I just got sort of sucked into it because it's more cinematic and everything. And I found that I sort of got drawn to the Arthur character quite quickly. I liked I liked his character and the whole idea that you could do a bit more with it. Like the customization and things like that was so much easier, and you can quick select everything. So having your guns in certain orders and all your food and things like that, I found that a lot more interesting. Plus the other characters as well, they all talked among each other more, so it made it feel more like you're not on your own a lot of the time. And even when you're doing nothing in camp, you can still hear everyone talking about their day and things like that, and people coming up to you. Like even the mini quests, like were interesting. So I found I ended up hanging around camp a little bit more often as well, just to see what they were all saying.
Yeah, man, I loved all that. I
Yeah,
loved all that. My first impressions, I must admit, I was a bit like, this feels a bit slow.
yeah,
Not really the story, maybe the story a little bit, but it's just, the way he walks around picking up stuff. I thought, hang on a minute, this is a bit slow. Because I think the games previous, I was playing like Assassin's Creed Odyssey, where everything's like, you can jump from 100 meters, land on the floor, slice someone up. It's like, and then I play Red Dead. I think they was close, they came out pretty close to each other. When you play Red Dead and it's quite slow, I thought, hang on, I don't know if I like this. But I got used to it and I was like, wow.
the
The
first
realism,
part is
yeah,
yeah.
like
the,
the realism of like just cleaning your gun, in it, like feeding your horse and
yeah,
oh man,
that's another thing. Yeah, you like if you don't feed your horse, its stats start to go down. If you don't feed yourself as well, your health bar starts to go down and things like that. It is a bit slow at the very beginning, like getting off of the mountain top and everything. But once you're off of that, like, and you go into the Valentine, the first town, that's when it starts to pick up its pace a lot more. mean, you don't have to do the side quests. You don't have to do any of the other optional bits like go hunting for treasure and things like that. But it does boost the story quite a bit, because as soon as I got the freedom where I could roam around, I cheated a little bit. I used YouTube, but you get your first treasure map and things like that. And I thought, if I find this treasure and take it straight to like to some like that little black market dealer sort of guy, you get like $2,000. You could easily go and buy up and customize loads of weapons and things straight away. So I did that every single time I do a new replay.
Yeah, that is a good plan, as a Dutch
Plus,
would
it
say.
boosts up the other stats as well.
Yeah. You had a plan all along, like Dutch.
I had a plan.
It's a good one. Yeah.
So even things like that, just when you're like with Dutch and everything, it just made it so much more dramatic. Like there's some bits in it that just like when you're going up to the Braithwaite Manor, like that whole ride up and everything is so dramatic, and then you all walk in a line and everything, you start having a shootout and the whole building's on fire and everything. It just made everything seem so much more dramatic and like a film experience. And even like some of the ride-alongs and everything, when music starts playing and things like that. I think we talked about a very famous scene is the piss up in the pub.
Lenny.
Yeah, again looking for Lenny and everything. Like memorable bits in that.
That's what I mean. The first game hasn't got stuff like that, has it? Really?
No.
It's got nothing like that.
I always giggle when he runs out of the place and the law's chasing after him, and he's like, "You'll never catch me." 9 times out of 10, I always hit the button at the wrong time and stacked it over the fence and woke up in jail.
Yeah, so you'll never take me alive, America. Yeah, that's my favourite moment in the game. I'll tell you what, we'll get to our favourite moments a little bit later. I just want to touch on the sort of the exploration, because when you, like you say, when you get to the first camp, Horseshoe Overlook, is it? And you go to Valentine, the world just opens up and it's a proper living, it's like a living and breathing world, isn't it? It's just so much going on.
Oh God, they've put so much into this game that even now I still end up when I replay every so often thinking that I've done everything, there's still bits that I find that I didn't notice before.
Yeah, it's mad. It's just the random people that come up to you as well, isn't it? Yeah. On along the roads. Like no game's really like that.
Oh God, I can't really name many games that have put in so much details. Like even when the first playthrough, I didn't know nothing much about it. But there's one bit in it where you go into like what looks like a burned down old school. You go rummaging around and everything. And I remember playing it the first time. I was rummaging around holding a lantern up and looking for like the cards and things like the little collectibles. And then a green light just comes shining through the roof. And I was like, what the fuck is that? And I got my character to run out and look up to the sky. The bloody UFO. And then just goes like that. I was like, what? Like in a game that's based in like the old West and everything, that seems quite like a very serious game, but quite a sort of a serious like gangster cowboy Western game. And there's a bloody UFO floating above my head.
Yeah. I remember that as well. I was like, what? You did what?
I had a few things in there as well. There was the UFO. You've also got the vampire guy in
Saint Denis.
Saint Denis. You've also got like the crazy scientist that you encounter as like a little side quest, and then you do a couple of jobs for him, and he's trying to build a robot, and then that opens up like a mini little sort of story that you find that he's now dead and there's a robot around. And I used YouTube for this because I wanted to find out what happened to this robot, and you find him sitting on top of the mountains like in the snow. And like, there's so many things to it. Even like I found Bigfoot's skeleton on one of in the same sort of mountain area And you're getting Arthur draws it in his book and everything. There's so much detail in this game. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy and amazing. Like you say, you still find things to this day, kind of thing. Maybe some things ain't even been found by anyone yet.
Yeah,
You
there's
know,
some spooky bits in there. There's a ghost as well in the marshlands near Saint Denis. Did you find her?
don't think so.
Yeah, she only pops up every so often in the game. But there's a like if you get too close, she just disappears. But there's a woman in the swamp area of it, and she's like calling out for a lost lover. But yeah, if you get too close, she just disappears. But in those very same marshlands, you've got also those crazy sort of cannibal people as well. There's like I get it's just there's so much in this game that if you play the first playthrough, you don't really take it all in. And it's not until the second playthrough that you think, oh, I'll explore a little bit more. And there's so much going on. I don't think you could ever fully complete it because there's always something happening.
Yeah, yeah, it's brilliant. So yeah, we'll get on to our favourite moments and the story in a little bit still. I just want to touch on the gameplay and sort of the gunplay. What did you make of that?
So much easier than the first one. Like you could like there's some guns that I end up deliberately going to because I find them a little bit better than using some of the other ones, like a bit more easier to handle, and plus I just like the look of them a bit more. But like the Deadeye, I find is so much easier to use, and just I like the realization of it all. So like he always has like got your main offhand one. You can have the one if if you choose to. You can have the one off the second gun on the belt, and you can always carry like or one or two on your back. And I always like that you can have these guns at all times, and you can swap and
Yeah,
shift between them to find what suits you better. Like just the whole thing about it as well, and you can customize even like the belt, the holsters, choose what ones you want to like have. Uh, and the customization of the guns as well, so you can make it a little bit more personal to yourself if you want to have it like a standard look, or if you want to have engravings and things like that. So like, I normally spend quite a little bit of time like trying to engrave them to make them more sort of personal to my Arthur. So like I find all that sort of stuff just makes you more sort of gets drawn into it because you're making it a bit more personal to you. I always get him to have a little bit of an emblem on the handle as well. So I would tend to always go for like the wolf because he's like for me, sometimes he ends up going off on his own like a lone wolf. So I'm like, oh yeah, can have that on your gun.
wicked, wicked. So you enjoyed it because I did. I loved the fact that the Deadeye, and then you get someone with a good shot. It might be a headshot or whatever. Then there's like a slow mo. There's like slow mo when you hit them, and then the music's building up around it. The music matches the gunplay, and
Yeah.
okay, you could just say, "Oh, it's just shooting guns," but it felt proper real, and the the music sort of built it up a bit. It's hard for me to explain, but I just felt immersed in it with the music.
The music is a big factor in it because it makes it a bit more dramatic. And even some of the bits that like in other games, like you're having a shootout and someone gets shot in the head, their hat stays on constantly. But in things like in Red Dead Redemption, like if you had a close call, your hat comes flying off of your head. And there's even that much detail that they leave like a little bullet mark in your hat. So it shows where it actually got hit. And things like even when he's running along getting shot, he moves with it. So he's like like that. And it just like the screen starts to go red if you're taking too much damage and you hear him breathing heavier. So it makes it so much more sort of realistic.
Yeah, and to have that sort of realism in a massive open world game is crazy. No wonder it took them so long to make it. you know.
Yeah. If they were to sort of, because I think on a standard like PlayStation 4, Xbox, like the graphics are very good. So like when you're looking over the world basically of it, it looks really good. And I don't have a 4K TV. I don't even have I'm playing it on an Xbox, but I don't have a like a the better Xbox. I just got a next standard Xbox One, and the graphics for me look really good. If they were to remaster that game for the newer generations on a 4K TV, that'd be breathtaking, I think.
Well, yeah, that would be cool. So we sort of touched on getting to Horseshoe Overlook earlier. So we go from that point. So obviously from that point, you're trying to make money basically. Dutch has always got a plan, it seems. And I believed him at the start. Did you? Did you always believe him? I know.
Yeah, I kind of got sucked into his character as well. I remembered from the old ones that you got to hunt him down, but I thought that was more because of like the whole government thing. They were forcing Marston to do it. At the very beginning, you sort of get drawn into him because he actually seems like a genuine, caring, like little. He's got his family, all mixed match people of outlaws, but they're a family. They're all working together, and he seemed to come across as like a caring person. We've got to get money. We've got to get out of here. And then you start to notice that slow change. And I think the character Micah was really good because you hated him, but like the person who played him and voiced him and everything, they done a fantastic job of it. But you see him start to sort of worm his way into like Dutch's head, and you see the change. Arthur's now no longer getting listened to anymore by Dutch or anyone else. They all start, and you start to see the split in the gang.
Yeah, but
Dutch seemed to. I got suckered into
yeah.
everything he said.
But it was so gradual throughout the game because there's so much happens in between that, though, isn't there? Between Horseshoe Overlook and then Micah worming his way in more and more. Because Dutch, he's so charismatic, isn't he? To anyone. But yeah, let's get onto the bit where you go to the. I know I'm skipping a bit here, but where you sort of go to the swamp, and then you go. Oh no, sorry. Let's go back to the Braithwaite Manor mission because that's just before the swamp, isn't it? I know you said you loved that earlier, and then they go to the swamp just after that, and then go to Saint Denis, don't they, to rescue the boy?
Yes.
Yeah. Sorry, I muddled myself up there. So let's get to that bit. Angelo Bronte, he was an intriguing character, wasn't he? The guy who had John Marston's son.
Yeah.
What did you make of that? Sort of going from all this country bit to a main city.
I thought as soon as I saw him and the way he spoke to the guys, like I knew straight away he was a slimy character that you couldn't trust. But he seemed to look after like little Jack. Jack was like saying that he got fed like spaghetti and had slippers and things like that, stuff that he's never had before, and he seemed to get looked after. But just the way he come across to Jack, John, to Dutch and everyone, you're like, yeah, he's a slimy sort of character. He's either going to double cross us or something's going to happen. But I wasn't expecting what Dutch done to him.
Oh yeah,
do you remember that? Yeah.
Cool. That's brutal. That is brutal. Feed him to the alligators.
It basically drowned him for a bit and then just like that.
Yeah.
I was like, I think that was near that point. That's when you started to see the change in Dutch. Because Arthur always said, like, we're not killers. Like, they've had to obviously kill to survive and stuff like that. They're outlaws. But what was it? They go, well, murder's not a revenge isn't a something we can afford or something like that. But Dutch seemed to change at that point. Like he started to just kill more people than he had ever done before.
Yeah. He was starting. He was on the brink of, making that change from a charismatic leader to someone who only cares about getting the money and getting out of there and caring about himself ultimately. But that was a crazy scene, feeding him to the alligators. And then they try and steal from the bank. They try and rob the bank, don't they?
Oh, what that was a horrible mission. But like, because you lose a couple of gang members pretty much within 2 minutes. Like Hosea gets
Yeah.
taken down, and he was always like the sort of voice of reason. And I think the only person Dutch sort of really listened to. As soon as he was gone, that was it. There was no one really to sort of call Dutch in on his actions and to say like what they should be doing. And then you lose Lenny as well
Oh,
on the rooftops.
I
Like
was
it was
absolutely gutted about Lenny.
and it was such a touching moment because Arthur sort of like looked after Lenny and thought a lot of him, and you see Arthur just sort of stop, like to look up to like sort of like lean over him and
Yeah.
everything, and they're all going, "Come on, we got to go," and you just can tell the way Arthur just has gently puts him back down and makes a run for it. I was
Yeah.
just like, I enjoyed that mission because it was like a proper shootout. Like you're having a shootout with the law and everything, but it was such a brutal scene as well because you just lose two members of your team and the whole chase and everything.
Yeah, man. Like losing Hosea was one thing. I was like, no, no. But then when you lose Lenny on the rooftop and there's not even a cutscene for it, it just dies. It makes it so much more real. There's not even a cutscene for it. You just got to run past him, like you say.
Yeah.
Oh, I was absolutely gutted. I was googling how do you save Lenny? How do you save Lenny? But it weren't to be. And
No,
they,
it was just one of those things. It's just like even with Hosea, there was nothing that could be done. They got him, they push him forward, and then as he's just walking towards the guys, bang, shot in the back. You're just like, oh my god, like that. I Oh, mate, it was the first time I played it. It was very dramatic for me because I think I had a rifle on my back or something. So shooting away with that ran out, and I just sort of put that back, went dual wheeled, shooting out the window like this, and you're hearing everyone talk, saying, "Yeah, I think it was Jack going, they shot Isaiah," like that, and
John,
then
yeah,
the
yeah.
blow up the wall to sort of get out of the bank. So dramatic, but made it such a memorable part of the game.
Yeah, it was. So then they hold up and get on a boat and end up in Guarma.
Yeah.
I mean, how that happens, who knows? It is a video game though, and yeah, you're in some hellhole of a island trying to escape, basically, aren't you? That was a nice little break from the open world, I thought.
Also a bit of a callback to starting from scratch because at that point as well you probably would have had most of the weapons. You would have probably bought yourself different types of clothes. You basically got everything that he wants at that time, and then you're in a new place on the brink of dying of thirst, got nothing, not even like you're walking along in bare feet as well, so you got no guns, no resources, nothing. So you have to in that little island you have to start all over from scratch basically, and then you got to get back as well. I found that quite interesting too. Even the characters in that scene, in that bit of Guarma as well, where you're basically helping a resistance, things like that. Very good. And also, if I recall, it's before you start noticing the effects of the tuberculosis.
Yeah, I think he coughs a few times, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's getting to
During
that
it.
point because Hosea starts to make not Hosea, Micah starts
Yeah,
to make remarks about his coughing, starts already calling him black lung and things like that. But it's, if I remember correctly, it's after you get back from Guarma that's when you start to notice the effects a lot more. And then that cutscene where he collapses on the floor and everything.
yeah, yeah. Oh man, then he goes to the doctors and tells him, oh, oh, because obviously we all know he's going to die.
Yeah.
So when I heard the coughing,
Spoilers if anyone's watching that's not played it yet.
I mean, I don't know why you'd be watching this if you ain't seen them. Imagine that. But yeah, it's heartbreaking because then you know Arthur's pretty much going to die, not in, not on a shootout or anything, not with his gang, by a terrible disease.
Yeah, to be honest, I've played a fair amount of games, and I've gotten invested in characters and protagonists in games quite a lot before, like another another game, another trilogy of games I love, like Mass Effect, things like that. But I've the character Arthur, I've never actually been so invested in a character before, like they did with Red Dead Redemption 2. But when you find out that you're now dying of tuberculosis, then there's nothing you can do. It's just like was so sort of heartbreaking because as the game progresses from this point on, you can hear it in the way he acts and the way and throughout the game that he is struggling now to keep up, not giving up, but you can tell that he's having a hard time doing it because they've done it so brilliantly that you can hear it in the guy who plays Arthur. It's like the heavy breathing, the constant coughing now, and like getting nearer to the end of Alpha's story, like just when he's rescuing I can't remember her name, the John Marston's wife,
Abigail.
Abigail. When he
Yeah.
got there, him and Sand, oh, what's her name? What's her name? The woman they save at the very beginning.
Oh yeah. I don't know this.
That's annoying because I can hear Sadie
Sadie.
Adler.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, when him and Sadie go to rescue Abigail, you can, and then Sadie gets captured herself. Just when he goes running down there to help, but you can just hear him going
yeah,
as he's firing away. I just thought, oh, the way they done that was so brilliant. But you can tell he's now knocking on death's door.
yeah.
And I was
And
getting so sad because I was like, I'm getting near the end of the game now.
yeah. And that bit leading up from Guama and to the bit you just said where he saves Sadie, he was realizing what's important, wasn't he? And he thought, I've got to get John Marston, Abigail, and Jack out of this. That's at least I can know they're safe. Sort of
Yeah,
get them away
it
from the gang.
was. It's basically it lived up like the first one. John redeems himself, pretty much saves his family and everything, and then gets taken down by the US government. And it was the same for Arthur, a redemption story. Like from the very beginning, where they've sort of murdered a load of people to get a load of gold and everything, and live their lives and stuff. And then he starts to redeem himself. You can still choose how you want to go, whether you want to be honourable or so on. But he started to make things different because there was that woman as well that the wife of the guy he beat up at the very beginning who coughed in his face and gave him the tuberculosis without realizing. Like he helped her, he gave her money and made sure she was safe and the son was safe. And I noticed she starts to help a lot more people. Like, did you manage to do that little? That it was a tiny little mission, but that woman who lived up in her house, all on her own.
Yeah, yeah,
He helps her to hunt and stuff like that. It's just things like that. You start to notice he's trying to help more people. And I ended up having that little sit down on a bench talking to the nun, and she's
oh,
saying, "Oh, I can see there's good in you," and he's like, "No, there's not. You don't know me." But she's like,
oh,
"No, there is." I was like,
right.
all these redemption arcs and everything in the game.
Yeah, I was having shivers down my spine just then thinking about that moment. Like, I made a tribute video way early on when I was making videos, and I put a lot of those moments in.
Yeah, I remember seeing that video.
Yeah, I might have to watch that again after this. Yeah, mate, so many good moments, and he does redeem himself. And at, at the end of his story, he obviously, well, it depends where you go, but he has the showdown with Micah. Could be back at the camp, or it could be on top of the hill.
Yeah.
And well, I guess in the end, he dies of the fight, kind of, not just tuberculosis.
No,
Uh,
that final fight definitely just done him in.
yeah, finished him off.
I've played 3 playthroughs of Red Dead Redemption 2 because I loved it that much. But I could never play. I never put myself in as being like a horrible Arthur. I've always ended up. I've gone to start it going. Let's play as a bit of an arsehole and everything, more out for myself, and I could never do it. And I had to end up reading online about there's different endings for the way that Arthur goes.
Yeah,
So like when you go to fight Micah, if you're honourable, you end up scarring Micah, and you die still, but you are left in basically intact, and you get buried and everything. Then the one where you play as if you're completely dishonorable throughout the game and you end with bad reputation, apparently Micah shoots you in the face. And he says like we're very similar, you and I. I'll have to double check it. I might not have my facts right, but I remember reading that you get different endings, like to how you end up going out.
Oh, okay, I haven't seen that. I knew there was the ending one at the camp, one on the hill, but yeah, I didn't see that.
Yeah,
Might
it's
be a
about
bit
your honor level, because if you're honorable, you keep seeing I think you keep seeing a stag, if I'm correct, or so.
yeah.
And then if you're dishonorable, you keep seeing like a wolf or something like that. Yeah. And it ends and that affects your ending. You still get the same ending. You get buried and things like that. But I think the way that you get killed is different. I'll have to double check, but I'm pretty certain about that.
Yeah. And what a character. Rest in peace, Arthur Morgan. He'll always be remembered as he's certainly one of my favourite video game characters ever.
Yeah,
I would say
they've done that so well that like I said, I've been invested in characters before, and when other characters have ended up dying in games, I've been a bit like, oh man, like what a character. But the character of Arthur Morgan, I think, was done so well because you just end up getting so invested in his character and everything, and you basically see what he goes through and you live through what he goes through. That when that comes along, it's just like, that's sort of hits you quite hard.
Yeah, I'm the same. So I thought that was the end of the game, but then we go and play as John Marston, which I weren't the biggest fan of straight away. I thought that was a perfect ending. And I thought maybe the John Marston stuff should have been a DLC.
Yeah.
Or just separate. But yeah, we start playing as John Marston, which a lot of people wanted. And we start farming, get on a ranch, on a ranch, digging up shit and that, and all that sort of stuff.
Literally.
Oh, I just heard myself. Should be fine. Bit of echo. But yeah, it was good. There were some good moments in it. I thought it was funny building the wrench, like with Uncle and that. Uncle made me laugh a lot in it. He's a funny character.
He's a good character. He is.
Yeah, and obviously,
my lumbago.
Yeah, I've got lumbago. Yeah, that's right at the start. He says that right at the start of the game when I think they're going to Valentine, isn't it? When he says that.
Yeah, he plays on that so much.
Yeah, and it's good to see Charles and Sadie. Yeah. And obviously, the end goal is to kill Micah for what he's done. And yeah, it's a good. There's some good moments in there. There's and going up the sort of mountain, shooting everyone, reaching Micah. Then Dutch comes out of nowhere. That was well unexpected, wasn't it? Yeah. Seeing Dutch, it was decent. What did you make of that little part?
I first playthrough, I saw when it got to that, I was just like I found it hard to get into. It was just like I've gotten so used to playing as Arthur, and I enjoyed the character Arthur like quite a bit. And when you start playing as John, I was just a bit like, oh, okay, let's get cracking. Then it was the building up the ranch and everything for at the beginning was interesting. Dragged on a little bit. You must spend about an hour, 2 hours before you end up actually doing any action at all. But then when that happened, you start writing off. I was like, okay, let's go a little bit more exploring. The first playthrough, I think I'd done it a bit too quick. I just went straight through the story. The second time I started playing as John, you ended up getting to finish a lot of the things that Arthur's character couldn't do. So like the second playthrough, I managed to find the rest of the dinosaur bones. So that was a little side quest, and you get like a knife, like a collectible knife from that. I nearly completed all of the animal pelts mission, except for one. I think it was the panther or the jaguar, but you had to complete a lot of like survivalist quests that I hadn't done. But there was a little few extra bits that you could do as well. So like finding like getting all the rest of the fish and things like that. So it allowed me to sort of finish bits that I hadn't gotten to do with Arthur. And I tried doing as much as I could with John's character. I even started customizing him a bit more as well. But like the lead up to finding Micah, I was found really good.
Yeah,
I enjoyed that. But it was gutting that you actually didn't get to finish Micah yourself.
Yeah,
And
true.
I thought Charles and Sadie were going to get killed off as well, which I was a little bit like, oh no, not these guys as well. But luckily they're both survived. But Sadie, man, she's like made of steel or something.
Yeah, I love her. It'll be cool to have a game with her. Oh yeah, we'll get onto that in a sec, actually. So yeah, I just want to ask you a couple of questions. What was your favourite moment? I know we alluded to it earlier. A favourite moment in the game.
I think there's a couple that I really like. The one in the piss up in the pub, I think that's got to be one of the favourite ones as well. Like you just go running around looking for Lenny and end up like my other half watched me do this scene. I went, oh, when I started replaying it, I went, oh, you got to watch this scene. And she was just sort of like looking at it, laughing as well, just like having a few drinks. Then you're having a fight with someone. Then you're all randomly dancing in the middle of the pub.
Yeah, that's my favourite.
Yeah, that one for sure. And I think it's a bit of a sad one, but for me, it's also like a proper memorable moment is the shootout going after Sadie and Abigail, because you're basically your Arthur's basically died, because Sadie's even said like, I want you to be the sniper. He's like, oh, I can still fight, and she's like, I know you can, basically, but you're a better shot. And then when she gets catched, you just hear Arthur go, I'll do it myself, basically, and just come down, and he's still got it. He can still fight. And I thought that was such a good bit in it, because he's like, he knows he's dying, but he's still going to go in there and save his friends. And that was a bit of a memorable moment. Tell you one thing that they could have done a little bit different, though, because we spoke about this before. You know, when you go visiting all the graves as John, I think he should have said something at Arthur's grave. That's one thing I think they could have improved in the game, because he didn't say anything. He just stood there looking at it. And for someone who basically gave John everything right at the end, I think he should have said something.
Yeah, they definitely missed the boat on that one. Any more moments?
Probably will come to me later on. I'll probably end up like going to myself, oh, I should have said that. But at the moment, I can't really think of anything right now.
Well, there's so many. How about the
Yeah.
ride back when you get back from Guarma and you ride back to the camp?
Oh, we mentioned about the Braithwaite Manor. That was a memorable moment. Very dramatic riding up in there. That was like, and then they all walk in a line, the whole gang.
Mate, that is right up there. But Lenny is my favourite. That's up there as well. I'll tell you what I do like, the bit where they're selling the moonshine with Hosea. Hosea's like,
oh yeah,
I'm Melvin, and this is my brother Fenton.
Oh yeah, just pass another drink, Fenton.
Hey Fenton, give us another drink.
Yeah, that is a very good one as well. I had another one just pop into my head just a second ago. I can't. Oh, that's gone as well.
Well, the moment with the nun as well, like we mentioned earlier, that's proper good, I thought.
Yeah, that was quite surprising, actually, that whole scenario, because it just starts off as like a tiny little mission, you're helping someone, but then it actually becomes quite sort of sentimental, right? At a bit where she's about to get on the train and you're never going to see her again, and she's never going to see Arthur again. If she was to come back, she'll probably might find out that he's died or whatever. But like just that bit, just sitting there, and she's like saying to him, "There is good in you," and he's sitting there going, "No, there's not. There's like I'm done for." And she goes, "Like I've seen what you've done and everything. People can always change." And he just the way he looks at her is just like, he wants to believe it, and he does change. Starts helping out loads of people.
Yeah, I think he's always been a good person at heart, but he's done a lot of bad things.
Yeah, which was probably quite a lot led to Dutch. I think Dutch's real character come out near the end, greedy, just thinking about himself. Like he didn't even batter an eyelid when Mrs. Grimshaw got shot by Micah right in front of him. And
Yeah,
he does a bit where he goes, who's with me and who's against me? He's like, Dutch, you just seen like a guy that's only been in your gang for probably a year just kill someone that was part of your gang for a long time. And he didn't even batter an eyelid about it. And she's lying there dying.
yeah,
Arthur's basically saying Mike, he's a rat, and Arthur's been with him like for years, right? Even says, "Oh, you're like a son to me, Arthur." It's just
yeah.
like you. I think the real Dutch come out right at the end there.
I agree. Yeah, you're right. Oh dear. Well, next question. Actually, I've got another question. Who is your favourite side character?
But I would say it's either. I think they're all great characters. There've been so many funny missions with all of them. But I like Lenny. I like the little arc that you get to see with Lenny and Arthur, where they do little missions together. Even like when they, pardon me, they go down, like he uses Lenny as bait, so they can get all those weapons from like the I can't remember the gang name, but the way he goes down, they're going howdy and
Yeah,
everything. But like, and I like Hosea. Hosea sort of had that sort of wisdom and tried to always lead them on the right path. And like the mission there, I'm Fenton, and this is like no, I'm Melvin. This
Melvin.
is Fenton. Like there's so many, but I like loads of them. But even Uncle. That's the one of the memorable moments I was going to say to you was where Bill, Uncle, Charles, and Arthur go to get the horses, and then they end up having to hide in a barn throughout the night. And then they all blame Uncle for like all going tits up. Like that was another memorable moment for me.
Yeah, mate. There's so many, and I think that's the difference between Red Dead 2 and the first game. Like I was
Yeah.
saying earlier, there weren't that many good moments in the first game, but there were so many in number two.
But the one thing with the first one is John Marston is on his own basically the whole time, so you get to play as John, but you don't build up that sort of relationship because he is all on his own throughout the whole time, and you're hunting down gang members that you've had no chance to sort of get to know. He's just, oh, go and get them, go and get them. There is a history there, but you don't get to know enough about it. Whereas in the second one, you get to know all of them so well, and they're all together for quite a lot. And a lot of the missions, you're with someone at least, like most of the time, unless you choose to go off riding on your own and exploring. So like you get to know all of them quite a lot, and then that builds up for all of those memorable moments because you get to have a bit of laugh with them. You see them go through the good times where they will have little parties in their camp and go through all the really bad times when they're hiding in the swamps, and then they get jumped and things like that. Arthur gets kidnapped by the Lemoynes. No, not the Lemoynes. So who's the gang that they were always fighting with?
Driscolls.
The Driscolls, where Arthur gets kidnapped by the Driscolls and basically tortured. You get to see all these memorable moments and things, and like which I don't recall if there was ever anything like that in the first one.
No, yeah, you're right. It's I guess Bonnie a little bit you bonded with, and there was a couple of characters in there, but yeah, there's nothing like it's on a different scale. Number two, isn't
Completely.
it?
Even at the very end, before Arthur himself gets killed, his horse gets shot, and
Oh,
as the horse is dying, leans over and he goes, "Oh, thank you so much." Like basically, like for like being a great horse and everything, and always being there. And then about 5 minutes later, Arthur ends up getting killed off as well.
oh man,
So many memorable moments in that game.
yeah. So kind of covered quite a bit, but just briefly, what would you want to see for Red Dead Redemption 3?
I've seen a few bits online where people said that they should do a prequel to the second one, like leading up to the whole Black Shots mission. which I think would be interesting. But then, even if you started off as a younger Arthur or a young Dutch or stuff, you're still going to know what's basically going to happen into the next ones, which I think would kind of spoil it a little bit. I think they could go in a different direction. I mean, they're based. It's the whole game's based in America, and obviously America's a massive country. They could do another gang. It could be in the same time, but somewhere else. Um, it could even be that something happens like after that time, leading into the more evolutionary age, like where cars are becoming more of a commonplace, things like that. I think there's a lot that they could do with it, but I think they should go in a slightly different direction. They've covered the story arc of Arthur, John Marston. They could make up a whole new gang and be in a different part of America, or even do where they were saying like in the second one they were talking about going to like, was it Australia at one point?
Yeah, which was kind of similar to the West.
They could do that. A third one could be that a gang in Australia. So like that could be, they could go in different directions. They don't have to stay with the Arthur John Marston storylines.
Yeah, I think I think you're right about it being spoiled if they do it a prequel. But I do think they set a few things up, like a couple of the characters that died right at the start of the game.
Yeah,
It just seemed like that was set up for the next game. But
yeah. You had
yeah,
the calendar boys, and they
yeah.
mentioned someone else as well.
So you could be playing as one of them in the
They
third game.
kind of just you're still going to just come to the ending knowing that your character is going to die.
Yeah, but then we find out exactly what happened at Blackwater because you don't really know so much. Well, it would be interesting,
Yeah.
I think. But yeah,
I
oh
think,
yeah,
yeah, they could go into that route leading up to the very end of the Blackwater mission where it could end basically with you playing as like, yeah, one of the calendar boys or whoever, and you see the others go as you and the other one hold off like the whole of the Blackwater police force or whatever. But I would be interested to see because it was if they're setting it in real time, round about the end of the 1800s, we were like sending people over to Australia, like loads of like criminals, basically back then to get rid of them. So they could do that. A gang of said criminals formed up and started sort of taking over the place, or could it lead it into a story that way? There is ways that they could bring in a third, like a third one or so.
yeah.
But I hope they don't end it there because played, I have played like Grand Theft Auto things like that before from Rockstar, but I never got as invested in any of the GTA games as I did with the Red Dead Redemption 2. I think that was such a brilliant game, and a lot of people I know have said the same thing. They enjoyed it a lot, and I think I've now done 3 playthroughs as well because there's always something. There always seems to be something else that's happened.
Yeah, such a good game that it's worth 3 playthroughs, even though it's at least 80 hours each. It's that
Yeah.
good. It's that good. Oh yeah, I forgot to ask you what you rate it out of 10. You can do decimal points if you want.
um, for for me, I would say it's going to be like a 9.5,
Same.
even going up to the near the end of the nines towards a 10. It is a very good game. Couple of bits I think knock it down that from being what I would say near a perfect game was the bit with like John Marston coming into you taking over. I think after at least one playthrough, you could have the option to sort of skip a load of that farming scenario because that does seem to drag on for a while. And what I think would have made it that bit better is if, at the very least, when John visits Arthur's grave, he should have said something at the very least, like because he says as they're splitting up, he goes, "Thank you, my brother." And I think he should have said something like that again as he like knelt down by Arthur's grave. I think he should have said something there. That would have made it a bit more touching because if it weren't for Arthur, John wouldn't be with his wife and kid now.
I couldn't have put it better myself. Those things would have made the game a perfect 10.
Yeah.
And I would say 9.5, 9.6 if we get really particular.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's definitely one of my favourite games ever, and I'll continue to play it. I might replay it now. Start another playthrough now. But yeah, I think we'll wrap it up there. Thank you for joining me, Ben. Again, that was a really good chat. That Red Dead.
Thank you again for having me.
Like it's a topic where there are games we could talk about for hours. Obviously, we're trying to fit this in around an hour. But yeah, glad we did that.
Yeah, we've had many a chats about this sort of game back in the gym.
Yeah.
So I remember when I first started playing it, we started talking about it, and I remember you are trying to like ask me particular bits but not give it away. Like, have you reached this bit like here? No, I don't know. I don't know what you're talking about. Oh, I won't say nothing then.
I couldn't spoil it for you. It's that great.
It is one of my favourite games, and yeah, it'll be one of those ones that even in years to come, when I eventually do get my hands on a newer console or whatever, I'd probably still go back, load it up to play again, because I've still I've done the very same thing with some of my old games from my 360 and things like that. I've kept in particular, and I replay them every so often because they are just such good games, and that's when you know you've got some like a really good game that people will still go back to play. Like Skyrim, for example, that thing has been across like 3-4 consoles, and people still play it to this day because it is a good game. And I think Red Dead Redemption 2 is going to be one of those ones that people will still play in years to come.
I totally agree, mate. Well, I think we'll wrap it up now. Thanks for joining me, Ben. And I will definitely have you on again. I don't know what topic yet. We'll sort something out.
Yeah,
and
I'll be happy to come back.
Cheers, mate. And half your face is in the sun.
Yeah, I've just noticed when I was looking at the screen there.
So yeah, it's probably about time we finish it.
Look like the scene from Batman, Two-Face.
Yeah. But yeah, like I said, thanks for joining me, mate. I really appreciate it, and we'll definitely do it again. So yeah, thanks for watching. Make sure to like, subscribe, and see you soon. See ya.